Hey guys, welcome back to the English Gentleman Game with me, Roscoe. Been a while, I apologise since I did a retro game. This is a game I've been meaning to bring action of, whatever my opinions of, for quite some time. Jungle Strike. This is the Mega Drive Genesis version, which is actually the version I played when I actually owned. Well, I didn't own. When I played the original version of this, it was on the Genesis. One of my best friends at the time, he had a Genesis Mega Drive. I had Super Nintendo. And for some reason I can't remember if we played it on mine or his, but we had Desert Strike, which we both thought was fantastic. And this is one of the few 16-bit, or any game actually, that I can ever remember buying day one, but this we bought between us on day one. Although we finished it in about 4 hours and we took it back and got something else instead, but that's another story. Again, usual me fanning around for a bit while I work out what the buttons are, but if you're not familiar with the Jungle or the Strike series in general, basically you generally pilot a helicopter, though in most of the games you are able or required to change vehicles. In this one, later on you may not see it, I had to go in a hovercraft, which is very useful because obviously you don't have to bother stopping for anything but trees, so you can go on land or on the water, but that's not really a surprise. I think I attacked these out of turn because I got a fucking walloping, but I couldn't work out how to do the jink manoeuvre, which is what I would normally have done to get out of the way, but I was holding the missile button down and pressing left, but I always thought that's what it was. I mean, I managed to dodge that. I think it was about the only missile I managed to dodge the entire time, so I didn't do very well on this life, but I did do some other footage later on. I really liked it. It was kind of no coincidence basically that the Desert Strike came out the year after the first Desert War or Iraqi War, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying I enjoyed, the setting necessarily, but I enjoyed the game. I liked the strategy, I liked the combat side of it. I liked being in a helicopter. I always thought being in a helicopter was very cool. I like the different, you got different co-pilots, you can pick things up. The mechanics of the game, basically, I really like. There's a certain amount of strategy involved, certainly later on. They don't give it away. This one, the first mission on both of the 16-bit games that I can remember were quite easy. When I say easy, I don't mean they were a complete piece of piss. What I mean is they generally had plenty of armour, plenty of ammo, and you didn't have to look too hard for it. In the later levels, it's generally a bit of fuel lying around that you knew about, but for the most part, there was a lot of hidden away stuff, certain buildings. It was always helpful if the enemy blew stuff up for you. If you could attract the attention of a gun, or a missile firing little dude or whatever, you could always persuade them to actually destroy the building for you and save a bit of ammo. That's another tactic you had to bear in mind. These missile dudes were a pain in the arse in every game I've ever played. The last one, I think, was Nuclear Strike. I do stand to be corrected if I'm wrong on that one. But I definitely... The only one I never played was Soviet Strike. I don't know why I missed that one. But I bought Nuclear Strike and finished it. I did actually manage to boot up an emulator for the PS1 and get I got the intro for Nuclear Strike, and I was recording it, but when the gameplay came on, I don't know what I've done wrong, but it didn't look right anyway, so I couldn't record that, unfortunately. I may see if I can get hold of a cheap copy on the PlayStation Store and I can record it off the PS3. I don't know. I'm not that bothered really. I certainly wouldn't be that inclined to play again. I do remember the helicopter and the other vehicles you had in that game were pretty deadly though. It was very enjoyable. But if you've never played these, definitely worth half an hour of your time to try it out. I think it's one of them where not necessarily you love it or you hate it, but you'll either grip your shit or it won't. But the basic premise of the game is you're a helicopter pilot. You can change your co-pilot if you rescue other ones, and you go and sort the baddies out. I think this one is, from memory, is generally related to drug cartels, which was a problem at the time in 1993. There was a lot of cocaine and all this sort of carry on flooding the streets of Western Europe and the West in general. So people were keen on getting rid of them. So the first one was set in the first Iraqi War, Gulf War, whatever you want to call it, and it was basically a guy who looked an awful lot like Saddam Hussein, was being a bit of a bastard, and you went in and sorted him out, and the levels get progressively harder. The missions generally there's only two types of mission really. It's either go there and blow something up, or go there and rescue someone, because the only two things you can do is shoot and pick things up. So that's generally what you do. Well, it is what you do, it's not generally, it is all you can do. There is a variety of there are some occasions where you get different different vehicles. I can't remember if it's this game, I presume it is because it was in a jungle, but I seem to remember there's one of the games you get to fly a stealth bomber, which is kind of cool. Although it was actually very difficult. The difficulty was avoiding anything tall enough that you would bang into, because it wasn't a helicopter, it couldn't hover. It just made life difficult. You had to basically memorise the whole fucking map so you could know. You went on strafing runs because it's a bomber. It was pretty difficult to control. It was very cool, but it was very difficult, and landing was a pain in the ass. You had to be pixel fucking perfect to get it landed, but it made a nice change from being in a helicopter. I really enjoyed the series. I think the atmosphere they put into it for a 16-bit game is very good. The missions are sufficiently varied. I mean, it's mainly, to finish it, you need to be aware of two main things in my opinion. One is dodging missiles, because the bullets don't really as a rule hurt you that much, and there's usually a bit of armour knocking around, and you also get armour replenishment, if you will, for rescuing prisoners of war. Now there's a few prisoners of war, certainly in the first game there's prisoners of war knocking around. You can just pick them up and drop them off at your landing zone and you get an armour boost or whatever. There's also armour you can pick up off the road. Again, there's like this car driving around you. There's a lot of bits in the EA game, so there's a lot of hidden stuff in the game. What I mean hidden is hidden inside buildings. Some buildings will contain fuel, some will contain ammo or armour. Those are the three things you can pick up. I personally liked them a lot, because obviously my first attempt there was quite poor. This is moving on to the second mission, the submarine one. It took me forever to work out how to get into the fucking, what's it called, hovercraft, but there you go. I'll probably skip that bit on actually, so I'll rescue the seals and I'll skip it on to see a little bit of action in the hovercraft, because me driving around like an idiot wasn't very exciting. So yes, if you have the time, I mean, you can get copies of these quite easily off the internet, so I'm told, Your Honour. It's still not that difficult to find. I mean, I think most iPhones and Android devices these days can run these in emulation. I don't particularly like them without the buttons, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. This is, maybe, I'm told, was running on a PC. It was actually filmed in 1080p as well, using outside broadcast software, which I don't use for broadcasting because our internet connection's complete shite, but it does work very well for recording, I've found out recently. If you get time, guys and gals, it should be on your, not your top 10 list. There's other games worth playing before this, but if you've played a lot of the 16-bit games and looking for something a bit different and you haven't played this, then I would definitely recommend it. Anyway guys, thanks for listening to me waffle on for the last, 6-7 minutes. Hope you have a good weekend and take it easy. Thanks for listening. Bye.